Hi. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. So I'm super excited today as I came for a chat with my good friend Sophie, who's here with me. Nice to have you. So we wanted to come and chat to you about some super exciting news that is happening at the moment. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Sophie first, so that you know about her. So Sophie is a lifestyle entrepreneur and personal development mentor who is passionate about helping women to love the life they live. Sophie is a Brit, married to a Frenchman and mom of two, living in Mauritius after 12 years in France and 5 years in London. Sophie knows all about juggling parenthood and life, having been a working mom, stay-at-home mom, and work at home in the 11 years she's been parenting, including launching and running a couple of businesses at a time. Wow. Does that sum up?
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a decade or so.
Excellent, excellent. So I wanted to see with you, Sophie, for you, tell me, what does it mean to live your life fully?
So I think living my life fully is all about living a life where I'm happy, okay, where I'm living for myself, okay, but not in a selfish way where it's all me, me, me. So we tend to think that if you're living for yourself, that you're not worried about your kids, you're not worried about your other half, you're not worried about your job or your business, and you're just being very selfish. But that's not the case. Living for ourselves is making sure that our needs and our desires are met. You know, there's a reason they tell you on an aeroplane to put your oxygen mask on first before you help children. Because if you are not looking after yourself properly, then you can't look after the people around you. Now, I'm a classic case of this. I have to constantly work at this myself because I tend to want to do everything for everyone. Okay, I'm a people pleaser and I like to help. I mean, you know, you're friends with me. So whenever anyone asks for anything, I'm like, yeah, I can help with that. I'll do that. And I tend to do that for everyone, for my kids, my husband, my friends, my family. And it's just the way I am. So I have to be very, very careful not to do this. And so for me, living my life fully is making sure that I am at the top of the list. Okay, so that doesn't mean that I ignore my kids and I'm sitting on the sofa drinking beer, watching TV while they're running wild. Wow. That's not what it means at all. But it means that I need to make sure that I have time for myself. I need to make sure that I have necessary sleep, that I look after my health, that I look after myself in my own needs for things like running a business. If that's something that makes me happy, or going out to work, I need to make sure that I can do that as well as being a mum. Now, as you say, in the past, I've been a working mum, I've been a stay-at-home mum, and I've been a work-at-home mum. And in all of those, I've been happy in those roles and unhappy in those roles. Because if I was doing the wrong role at the wrong time, then I was very unhappy. So we have to make sure that we are happy in the roles that we are in our lives. So whether that is wearing a hat of, you know, being a wife, or being a stay-at-home mum, or having a full-time job, whatever it is, for me, living my life fully is making sure that I am in a role that makes me happy, that I get the necessary time to make myself happy and fulfilled, and I get my downtime, but I also get quality time with my kids, quality time with my husband without my kids, quality time as a family, quality time with my friends, my, you know, bigger family, and just downtime for me. I mean, you know, Priscilla, I'm a real extrovert, but I'm very, very sociable. But even I need to sort of retreat into my cave every now and then, and, you know, just curl up with a good book and just be in a little bit peace and quiet. So living my life fully is very much listening to myself, listening to my body. So something I've not done recently, I have been listening very much to what other people need and wanting to help them and do things for them. It's been a very busy time for us. And this led to me then being ill and having an injury and then having a cold that went on for 5 weeks and developed into a sinus infection and all things like this. And that is all because I wasn't listening to myself. My body was screaming out to me and saying, take a break, rest. And I kept going. And then I was forced to stop. And then I'm no good to myself. I'm no good to my kids. I'm no good to my husband. So there's no point. So living your life fully is very much about listening to yourself, making sure that the life that you live is one that makes you happy and fulfilled, and making sure that sort of, all your compartments are, we talk about work-life balance and it's a holy grail really, but you need to, as much as possible, make sure at different times it's balancing out more or less. If you just had a new baby, your work is going to take the back seat. However, if you're launching a new business, your kids might take a back seat. So it's a, balance. You have to be a bit careful and not try and search for something that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is, because a lot of time I feel that people just live their life on autopilot. They just keep going and they're not sort of aware or conscious of, they don't check in with themselves. So
exactly.
A lot of what I'm hearing from you is just really being conscious about where we are and what is, opening in front of us and what is happening, and just making sure that it fits with what we want.
Yeah. And you're not just doing things because that's the way it's always been done or because it's expected of you, whether that's your family or society. You can say no to things. You can, just because everyone in your family has always done things this way doesn't mean you have to as well. Just because society says you should do this doesn't mean you have to do that. I mean, one example, so you mentioned that we used to live in London, and when we first moved to London, we just had one child. We had our eldest daughter, and I was working full time in central London. So I left the house at 8 a.m. every morning, and I came home at 7 p.m. every evening, 5 days a week. And our eldest at the time was between 4 and 5 years old. So I rarely got to see her. But that was fine at the time because I enjoyed my job and she was happy at school and everything was fine. But then when I was pregnant with our second, and I was thinking about, then going back to work afterwards, I was like, hang on a minute, do I want to go back to this? Do I want to go back to leaving the house at 8 in the morning, coming back at 7 in the evening with a 6-month-old? I had a nearly an hour's commute. And so I was like, okay, is this what I want to do? And I had a great job. I was an account director in a digital marketing agency. I was one down from the big boss. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. But was it what I wanted to do then? So I bucked the system. I bucked what society tells you should do. And I gave up that amazing job, which gave me a certain standing in society and what have you. And I retrained as a childminder. Shocked the hell out of everyone I know. And I got comments like, do you really want to be wiping snotty noses and pooey bums every day and things like this? But that was how I was going to live my life fully at that particular period. I knew that I wanted to spend time with my kids and my new baby. When we had our eldest daughter, I went back to work full time when she was 3 months old, and I really struggled with that. So second time round, I already knew what that looked like. And I decided to go against what everyone else was saying. Everyone told me, you'll regret this, you'll hate it, you're going to be bored, you're going to miss interaction with adults, and so on and so forth. And I was like, I don't care. This is what I think I want to do. And that's what I did. And it worked brilliantly.
Can you please repeat that?
Okay, my Siri seems to think that I'm talking to it.
I love it.
Bye, Siri.
So I can totally relate to what you're saying, because before I had my son, I was working 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I mean, right before I gave birth, it was like 7 a.m., 7 p.m. It was no problem to me. And then after 3 months having him, I was like, okay, do I go back to that 7 a.m., 7 p.m.? When am I going to see him? So I could have done that, but it would not have fitted with who I wanted to be at that time. And so it does require for that like decision making and moment of like, okay, what do I do now? And really being able to, as you say, just listen to ourselves and figure it out, because a lot of times the answers are just not right in front of us. We have to figure it out.
You mustn't be scared to go off that standard path that everyone goes down, that society tells you should go down. You shouldn't be scared to look left and right and say, well, is there a different path that maybe might be better for me? Just because everyone is on this path doesn't mean it's the right path for me. And it's quite interesting. With my eldest daughter, I realised with hindsight that I'd had postnatal depression. Whereas with our youngest daughter, the situation was very, very different. And I was really, really happy. Okay, obviously things are easier second time round and what have you, but equally you're juggling 2 kids as well.
Yes.
And also I was retraining into a whole new way of life. You know, I'd never done childminding before. I'd done babysitting when I was like 14 years old, but not sure that counted. And, you know, I noticed the difference because with our eldest, I went back to work and I didn't want to be doing that. And that wasn't living my life fully, and it wasn't listening to myself. It was just doing what was expected of me. Second time round, I said, no. Right, how am I going to make this work? And people say to me, I can't do that because, you know, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have this, that, or the other. And there is nearly always a way. Okay, there is nearly always a way. And a bit later, we're going to talk about my Life Reboot Camp, which is a course that I've got, which is releasing this week, which is out this week. And it's something that we talk about in the course and we work through, is finding that way. I am a big, big believer that if you want something, you will be able to find a way to get it, even if money and time is an issue.
Yes, because I was going to ask, because a lot of time, like people will say, yes, it's easy for you to say because you've got such and such and such, but, you know, I've got this life and I've got these kids and, you know, like this, and they will kind of, they nearly want to prove you how they cannot do it.
But also, when people are saying that to you, they're looking at you now, that it's worked, it's set up, the systems are in place, everything's fine. They're not looking at you when you made your first wobbly steps into that path of, is this going to work? Do I do this? Do I do that? How does it work? And they're not seeing that. And for most of us, those...
When we were at their place or back then when it was difficult.
Yeah, and they're not seeing that. And so they're convinced that it was always easy for us. You know, the number of times people say to me, but I'm not like you, I couldn't do it because, you know, my situation's different, what have you. You know, in the past, I set up a business when I was pregnant with our eldest, when my husband and I had a new mortgage on a house, you know, all the things that you shouldn't do.
Right.
And, you know, I still do it. And people say to me, I can't do it because, you know, I've got kids. I was pregnant. Because I've got a mortgage. So have I. Well, because, you know, I don't have loads of savings in the bank. I don't have a huge amount either. Oh, because I don't have, you know, a net waiting to catch me. Where the hell do you think my net is? You know, and so you know that I'm a huge fan of Marie Forleo, and she has a saying which is everything is figure outable.
Yes, I love that.
And it's so true. If you want to, you will find a way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in an airy-fairy quote on a pretty photo on social media. I am saying that because I have seen it and done it and witnessed it with others time and time again.
Yeah, because it's not what I always say to people. It's not about the resources. It's about the resourcefulness and what we can bring to the table. So tell us about this super exciting program that you're launching now, because it's
So yeah, so it's called Life Reboot Camp. The idea being that there are sometimes you just want to hit Control Alt Delete on your life and give it a reboot. You don't necessarily want to throw everything out. You don't want a huge change. You don't want the life of your sister or your neighbor or your boss or your best friend, but you want your life to run a bit more smoothly. Okay, you want things to work a little bit better, and you want to find that elusive happiness and fulfillment. Okay, now everyone's happiness and fulfillment is very, very different. I was incredibly happy working as a childminder. However, most people I know would have absolutely hated that. So we've got to be very careful to look at what makes us happy and not be looking at other people and say, oh, well, you know, she does that job and she seems to love it, so I should do that because I'll love it too. She loves it because it's perfect for her.
Right.
So Life Reboot Camp, it takes you and it looks at your life very much as a global entity. So we break it down into 6 modules, and that all comes together and they all link in together. So the first module, we talk about you, but you in capital letters, okay? Everything that centers around you. So that could be your self-esteem, it could be your self-confidence, your self-worth, your self-doubt, self-empowerment, self-care, self-love, everything to do with you, looking at the way that you might compare yourself to others. Everything that centers around you. Not you as a mum, not you as a wife, not you as an employee, but you. The way you see yourself, the way you talk to yourself, the way you look at yourself in the mirror and criticize, absolutely everything. So it could be, since you become a mum, that you've got a feeling of low self-esteem because your body's changed. Or still talking about, you know, bodies and what have you, as you've got older, you've got more wrinkles and grey hair and everything's going southwards. You know, society and the media tells us we should look a certain way. So it could be that. It could be your sense of self-worth because maybe you're not working at the moment and so you feel that you have no worth because, you know, everyone else has got a job and everyone else has got something to talk about when they're invited to parties, and you are not working at the moment, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mum and you feel that you have no value because you can't say I'm an XYZ or I work in such and such company. Or maybe you do feel that you have worth as a stay-at-home mum, but you feel that other people don't see that worth or that value. So it's all very much putting you in the center and going around it and saying, okay, all these bits, what worked, what doesn't work, you know, what is dragging you down and stopping you from being happy. Okay, so that's all module 1. Then module 2, we go a little bit woo-woo. So most people who follow me and read my blogs and their clients are not really into the woo-woo side of things. And by woo-woo, I mean things like journaling and gratitude, but also things that go a little bit further, like talking about manifesting and visualization and things like that. Now, some people are very into this, love it, and think it's completely normal. A lot of the people I speak to about this are like, okay, you're a little bit weird. Does this involve dancing naked at a full moon and things like that? So it's more or less an introduction to woo-woo and how it's out there and how you can harness it, okay? It doesn't mean that you need to start, you know, buying crystals or burning things or, you know, dancing in a full moon or anything like that. It's just to explain how it can work with the physical and the logical aspects that we look at, okay? Then we move on to relationships and friendships. So that's, we're going to talk about your romantic relationship. So now that could be with the father of your children, but it could also be with someone who is not the father of your children. So maybe you have got divorced and you're remarried and you've got sort of a new mixed family where you've got, you know, different kids with different relationships, things like that. We look at that. But we also look at friendships and other relationships. So, for example, with family members or with colleagues, things like that, where we look at valuing yourself in a relationship, making sure that you are standing up for yourself, dealing with toxic friendships and toxic relationships, and the way you relate to others. Okay?
All about relating to other people.
Relating to other people. Yeah, so in a romantic sense, but also all the non-romantic relationships as well. And, you know, blame and all sorts of stuff. Right. And arguments and taboo subjects. Then there's a module on parenting. Now, this isn't about, you know, when should I potty train my child and why won't my kid eat vegetables, things like that. It's not the practical side of parenting. It's you as a parent. So it's going to be talking about, you know, how you feel about parenting. It's a safe place for you to let off steam and say, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. And I need a break, or my child's driving me crazy, or things like that. It's also talking about how parenting fits in with the rest of your life. So, you know, with the relationships, which we talked about in module 3, with your job and your work and your career, which we then come to talk about in the next module. You know, how does parenting fit in? How do you know whether you want to be a stay-at-home mum or a working mum or whatever? You know, all the things that turn around parenting, the fact that you are a parent and getting me time as a parent and support as a parent, and everything that turns around it, not the actual act of parenting.
Right.
Then the next module is all about work and career. So I've been an employee, I've been an employer, and I've been a business owner, I've been self-employed, entrepreneur, I've done all sorts. So there's going to be a lot about making sure you're on the right path when it comes to your work and your career. Okay, are you on the right path? Does it make you happy? If not, what are your other options? And again, people will often say, I can't do this, I can't do that. Or other people are saying to you, you can't do this or you can't do that. So we'll be looking into why you can and how you can. So that's that module. And then the final module is all about decision making and facing your fears. So I have made a ridiculous amount of decisions over the years, from changing countries, changing jobs, having children, not having children, giving up jobs, starting new jobs, retraining, ending businesses, starting new businesses, making decisions concerning relationships. Also, you know, who's childcare, who's going to look after my kids. I have pulled my kids out of childcare because I've not found it to be what I'm happy with or what I think is best for my kid, and doing a huge about turn and paying money which I didn't have at the time, but you know, making that decision because finding that childcare isn't right for my child. So it's all sorts to do with decision making, facing your fears, the risks linked to it, and how you can then, you know, work out what's right for you. And those are the 6 key modules. And then there are also 6 experts who are sharing bonuses in their bonus material on extra things that then complement these 6 modules. And so I am very busy. You are very busy. I have bought and done multiple online courses in the past, and this is my 3rd online course that I have created and run. And I like to think that my courses are the easiest ones to do in the respect of your time, your availability, and what you can commit to, okay? There's no point buying a course, it's sitting on your computer and you never doing it because I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have time today. I'll get around to it tomorrow. It's too much. I need to have a full half hour to do it. That's not going to work, okay? There's no point buying a course that says you're going to, you know, after 6 weeks, you're going to be happier if you don't ever do the course. So the course is structured in a way that everything can be taken on board in bite-sized chunks. Okay, the videos are 5 to 10 minutes long, so you can sit and take that in a very short period of time. Equally, if you're in the zone, you can just binge on it and watch everything back to back and do the worksheets and spend a whole weekend just working through the program. But for most of us, I think we never have huge chunks of time to do this kind of thing. So for those of us who don't have that, it's bite-sized chunks. And on top of that, because we don't always have internet, we can't always sit and watch a video. you have 3 different ways that you can take in the information. You can either watch the video, or you can listen to the audio version of the video. So when you're driving, when you're cooking the dinner, or you're doing the washing up, or you're doing the ironing, or whatever it is, you can take it in just as an audio. Or if neither of those work for you, you can have the transcript of the video, which you can then sit and read whenever you want to, okay? But everything is in bite-sized chunks. And then you have worksheets with tasks to do. Now, this is not going to be sit down and write an essay. It's going to be simple tasks that you can implement into your everyday life. A lot of it is going to be thinking. So that's things that you can do when you're on the move, when you're walking, when you are cooking the dinner, when you are sitting in a boring meeting at work. You can zone out and think about the tasks that I've set you. Okay, so as much as possible, I would say a good 90% of the course can be dipped in and out of. And the 6 modules, there is absolutely no order to them. You can dip in and out. You can start with module 6 and then come back to module 1. You can completely skip module 3. Not everyone on the course is a mum, and not everyone in the course has kids still at home. So that parenting module is not really going to apply to them. In the same way, you know, if you're set up in your career, you absolutely love it, you wouldn't change it, then you probably don't need that module. You can zap that one. So there's a lot of, you know, pick and mix, choose what works for you. And even within each module, you're going to have a whole selection of videos and tasks to deal with. So you're not going to have all in one place, you know, self-esteem and self-love and self-care and comparisons and me time and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be broken down into lots of different sections. So you can say, right, okay, I'm going to deal with comparisons. Okay, watch the video, do the tasks, work on that one today. And, you know, how many times are you taking your kids to an activity and then you're hanging around waiting for them while they have their swimming lesson or while they do gymnastics or football or whatever it is, and you don't have time to do anything? You've got like 20 minutes by the time you drop them off, got them settled, and then by the time you need to then collect them, you've got maybe 20 minutes, maybe if you're lucky an hour, before you need to get them again. So the whole idea is you can have this on your phone, and instead of just mindlessly scrolling through social media on your phone, you open it up, watch the video, listen to the audio, read the transcript, take in the information, and if you've got time, you can do the task as well. So that's the aim.
And it all ties up with what you were saying in the beginning, because while doing that, it's a way of reflecting on our life and seeing where we're at and where we want to be, and sort of it gives us a framework of basically what we want for our lives.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of, so that we go down into details, okay, when we talk about self-esteem and things like that, and you know, how to get the support you need as a parent and me time and things like that. But equally, there's a lot of bringing it all together into one global view of your life of, okay, so which bits are not working well together? You know, the relationship is going well, but the parenting isn't, or work is going well, but I don't feel like I can stand up in a meeting because I don't have the self-confidence, you know. So it's bringing it all together and saying, okay, globally, what do I need to do now? You know, what are the points I need to work on, and how can I bring this all together to have that happier, fulfilled life where I'm living my life fully, and that you can go to bed at the end of the day and say, that was a great day. You know, there will still be bad things happening in every day. You might still get a speeding ticket. You know, things still break, things happen, but at least most days you can say, you know, that was good.
Yeah, brilliant. And I do believe that you have a great offer at the moment, because it is
yeah, that's right. So we actually launched Life Reboot Camp yesterday, Tuesday, and from now until Sunday, 25th of February, we are offering $300 off the cost of the course. So the course is normally $497 because it's got huge amounts of information in it and is absolutely life-changing. But if you sign up to the course between now and Sunday, end of the day Sunday, you get it for $300 less, so $197. And because I like to make it as accessible as possible, you can pay 3 monthly payments of $75 a month. If the 197 is too much in one go, that's not a problem at all. And because I have a huge fear of buying things online, and a huge fear of disappointment, you know, when you hit buy and it goes into your basket and you go to the checkout, I'm always like, what if I regret this? What if I don't want it? And what if it doesn't do what it says on the tin? And I hate that. So I offer a full refund, okay? Even at any stage throughout the course, even if you've got the whole 6 modules and you've got the whole course, I mean, you're 6 weeks in, but it's not helped you and you've not found it useful, then I will offer you a full refund. I don't want unhappy people on my course, okay? And I do feel that so strongly about it, and that it is so life-changing and it can make such a big difference, that I have absolutely no problem at all offering that option.
Brilliant. Wow. Okay. So, and also I wanted to add, for those of you who are listening and who know me, I wanted to add on to Sophie's offer here. So if you are using the link that I'm going to provide you on top, at the bottom of the video somewhere, to sign up for her course, you were telling me it's, remind me of the link, Sophie?
So it's www.sophieLeBrozec, so that's my name altogether, .com/Priscille.
Okay.
And that's the way you can offer.
Right, so if you're using that link with my name on it, then you are also going to be receiving a bonus from me. So some of you have been on my live version of my parenting course last year, but I launched and loved it. So I am now also releasing, as Sophie, an online self-paced version of that parenting course. So it's going to be launched in a few months. And if you sign up with that link that Sophie provides, then you are going to have that parenting course completely free as an add-on and as a bonus to Sophie's course. So just so that
that's perfect, because then you'll have your 6 weeks of my course, and then shortly after, once you've had time to digest that and go through it, then you'll have Priscille's, which is great because you don't want both at the same time. You won't have, yes. You'll get all confused. You won't have enough time to do 2 at the same time, but that will lead in nicely.
Yes.
And also just one last thing as well, that mine, there's no timeline, okay? You get your new module every Monday, 6 weeks. On a Thursday, there is a live call when you can ask any questions about that week's module, but there's absolutely no obligation to be on the live call. You can watch it afterwards or not. It's absolutely no pressure at all. And you get all the information for life. Okay, you can download it or you can just access it online, but you have it for life. So you can dip in and out of it. So maybe your relationship is great at the moment, so you don't need to worry about that module. But then, maybe in a few months' time, you can hit a rocky patch. You can come back to the module then, have a look at it, figure out what you need to do. Okay, so that's very, very important. And one last thing as well that I didn't mention, everyone who signs up to my Life Reboot Camp gets automatic free lifetime access to my Love Your Life Club, which is an online private membership club. And normally it costs $9.99 a month to be part of that private membership club. But as a Life Reboot camper, you get to join for free and you have that access for life. And we have a Facebook group. It's a great community of like-minded women in a safe place that you can share and rant and brag and ask questions and what have you.
Brilliant. So I encourage you go and sign up for Sophie's Life Reboot Camp. It sounds like an insane offer. Very, very nice and exciting. So I do hope to see you in there, because I am part of Sophie's Life Reboot Camp. And we were really happy to speak to you today. It was great.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to chat to you.
It was great. Thanks, Sophie.
Okay, bye.
Bye.